All right, we are live, and I'm really excited about it. This is the first time we've gone live in a while, but we're bringing it back because we're having a conversation surrounding how to strengthen your mindset under pressure. And this is a crucial conversation simply because we want to make sure that as we are growing in our self leadership, as we are pursuing whatever dream is in our heart, we want to make sure that we're not trying to build in a way where we behave ignorantly to just the realities of what we're going to face. Because regardless of how talented you are, how anointed you are, how gifted you are, you're going to run into obstacles. And us mentally being under pressure is one of those obstacles. And so this conversation is going to be really, really good. And so we're going to be here, call it 30, 40 minutes. We'll just see. We're just going to flow with it. But one of the things that it's important, and what these conversations are really leading up to is the Dreamer Symposium. And the Dreamer Symposium is a leadership conference that happens towards the end of this year. This year it's happening December 5th and 6th. And the entire purpose why we're putting on this conversation, why we're putting on this conference, I should say, is for leaders, high achievers like yourself to grow in your self leadership and create vision for the new year. Now, why is this even important? Because there are too many people who don't take their goals serious enough. There's too many people who are living their lives at the bare minimum when they know in their hearts they can be living at a higher level. And so in order to do that, in order for us to take that leap from not enough to more than enough, in order for us to become, we're going to need to first clarify what we want to see. And so a big part of what the symposium is really vision casting, and not vision casting in the sense of to a team or anything like that, but vision casting to yourself, to just for you to get clear on, okay, what's possible for me in my life in the new year. Now, as you know, it's not enough just to have a vision, right? You also need a strategy. So it's not enough to clarify. You need to strategize. And so part of the second day of the symposium is geared towards strategy. It's geared towards figuring out, okay, what can I do with the vision that I have? What actions can I take? What habits can I develop? What disciplines can I gain that will allow me to take one step towards the life that I want to live? And it's not so much about the life per se in terms of the things, the material things, but it's simply saying, okay, what disciplines can I adopt so I can become the leader that my lifestyle, my dream lifestyle requires? And so again, a part of that journey, you're going to run into moments where you feel pressure. A part of that process, you're going to feel mental pressure, and it's going to require that each and every one of us have strong mental fortitude so we can handle those situations properly. All right. And so again, the way this is going to work, again, the chat's open. So please engage in the chat however you feel comfortable, just so you're engaged. And I would also encourage you to take notes if you haven't before, because again, what's written down is remember, because I don't want these conversations to just be normal content on social media or YouTube or something like that, and then you never go back to it again. Really take notes on these things, just because there could be something that we talk about here tonight that could be really helpful to you. All right. And so again, how this is going to work, I just got a couple of notes, a couple of things, a couple of tidbits, snackables, if you will, just concerning our topic tonight, how to strengthen your mind under pressure. But again, I want you to ask questions. If you have a question, if you have a comment, feel free to just drop in the chat your question and your comment, because let's talk about it. Because again, this is the space for us to grow. And one thing that we should know is that the world changes when leaders and when dreamers grow. And so I'm excited to grow here with you all tonight. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Trevon Gross Jr., and I'm a leadership coach. And I just simply love developing people to structure their lives for the success that they want to see. And so I'm really excited. That's what we're here to do tonight. And like I said, our topic is how to strengthen your mind under pressure. Now, in our journey to our dreams, in our journey as we build our dream lifestyles, we're going to encounter a bunch of different pressures. And a lot of these pressures are seen, some are unseen, some are expected, others are unexpected. And it's so important that rather than us figure it out when we get there, rather than us figure it out when we do feel overwhelmed or stressed or worried, whatever it is, whatever emotion that the pressure of the situation creates in us, that we actually have strategy surrounding how we handle it. So as opposed to being in our prayer closets and hoping and wishing that we don't live a pressurized life, first we need to just accept and embrace the fact that that's not a good prayer. That's not a good hope. You're not going to be able to live your life. You're not going to actually build anything significant if you try to live your life in a way where you think you're not going to run into problems, where you think things aren't going to go as expected. If you try to live your life where you think you won't get hurt, or there won't be disappointment, or whatever the case is, like it's almost building like a fairy tale land. And there's Bible that backs us up, and the scriptures for us. Jesus said, "Behold, I have overcome the world. You shall run into many troubles, but behold, I have overcome the world." So it does not matter whether you know them, whether you don't, whether you're smart or you're not so smart. Like, it doesn't matter your background. We're all going to run into trouble. We're all going to run into these pressurized situations. And so what we want to do, and that's what we're here to do tonight, is really try to game plan how we're going to handle it, which is why we want to get our mindset right. So that way, when we do encounter situations and seasons of pressure, we are responding well and we are leading ourselves well through it. Now, pressure can come from a lot of different places. Because we're all different people, we care about different things. We all have different dreams and goals and aspirations and things like that. But all of us, I should say, live with different types of pressure. Now, why is this significant to us? Because some of us are dealing with the pressure to perform. Whether you're at your job, whether you're in your business, whether you're at church, wherever you are, whatever context you work in, you might have the pressure to perform, where you feel as though eyes are always on you. And if you make a mistake, then all hell is going to break loose. Or if you make a mistake, it's all going to come crumbling down, whatever the case is. But some of us live with the constant pressure to perform. Others of us feel the pressure to not fail, to where we're not even so much thinking about what we're striving towards. We're just like, listen, I just don't want to be at the bottom of the totem pole. Listen, I don't want to be the one that messes things up. Listen, I just don't want to fail. And our definitions of failure can look very different. But for some, failure might mean that you miss the mark. Failure might mean that you don't get a promotion. Failure might mean, your business doesn't hit the proper metrics at the right time, whatever it may be. But some of us live under the pressure of not failing, while others of us, which is kind of converse, and I'll kind of explain the difference, others of us live with the pressure to succeed. And this pressure to succeed especially resonates with a lot of high achievers, a lot of people who are ambitious. I'm one of those people where there's just like this pressure, and you can't quite describe where it comes from. You can't quite describe, the source of it. But there's this pressure that just says, I have to make it. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from, but there's this drive in me that says, I have to make it. And this can be a very dangerous type of pressure if we don't manage it well, if we don't develop our mindset well enough, because what will happen then is that we'll never actually be pleased or never enter a space of gratitude over what we achieve, because we live with this pressure to succeed. And it's almost like chasing a rabbit when we decide, or I should say, when we settle into basically living under this pressure to succeed. And the last part, at least the last type of pressure that a lot of us deal with as dreamers and leaders, is we deal with the pressure to not let anyone down. And this one really resonates for those of you where you can identify and be honest with yourself and say that you people please, because you love people. You're people oriented. You always keep others in mind, but you want to serve at a very high level, but you also don't want to let those people down. And this is where those types of people who deal with that, and I fall into this trap myself, but where it's almost as if you live in a prison of other people's expectations. And if we stay in a prison of other people's expectations, we're never actually going to be able to rise and achieve our vision, because again, we're always going to be limited by other people's expectations, which means we'll also be limited by other people's visions for our lives. And so if we want to build effectively, if we want to build whatever it is that's in our hearts, whether it's a business, whether it's a church, whether it's a ministry, whatever it is, if we want to lead ourselves well, we have to break out of this pressure. We have to manage this pressure well. And this is where we deal with each and every one of our capacities. Okay. Capacity meaning that I need to be able to develop myself in such a way where I'm able to get clear. I'm able to be honest with myself and basically call it guidelines, call it strict guidelines and policy as in terms of how I'm going to react and how I'm going to respond to whenever I'm in pressurized situations. Now, this is very, very key because, again, we're not trying to live in extremes. We're not trying to live in the extreme of thinking that we can live without there being any type of pressure. But we also don't want to live in an extreme where we feel like the sky is falling every single day and we can't actually enjoy the progress that we make on a day-to-day basis. And so we want to live in the middle of this tension where we are managing this pressure well. All right. And in order for us to manage this pressure well, number one, it's really going to take a level of emotional mastery, right? Where you need to actually be able to understand how you feel about things. And this is where, again, this isn't necessarily to get therapeutic or anything, but this is where we have to be honest about what triggers us. And I'm not using the word trigger in terms of like what causes you to go back to necessarily a traumatic event, but this is where we can just be practical and be simple in understanding, okay, what makes me happy? What's a trigger that makes me sad? What's a trigger that frustrates me? What's a trigger that causes uncertainty for me? Like, just what are the things that can happen in my external world that can cause me to feel a way, right? So if you get a certain type of email or whatever it is, right? You get an email, whether it's a bill or whatever the heck it is, right? But you need to understand, okay, whenever I get that email, that causes me to feel anxious. Whenever it's towards the latter parts of the month, I start to feel anxious, or I feel depressed, or I feel sad whenever this thing happens, right? So if we want to manage well the pressure of things, we need to first just be honest about, okay, these are the triggers that cause me to feel a way. Now, the goal of our conversation is to simply talk about how to strengthen your mindset under pressure. All right. Now, most of the work that you're going to need to do in order to strengthen your mind for pressure is going to happen before pressure comes. And the way in which we do that, again, and I'm going to share with you really 4 things that are going to help you sharpen and strengthen your mind. So that way, before pressure even arrives at your front door, before problems even arrive at your front door, you will recognize and know what to do, because you will, first off, know how to handle it because you'll have a clear strategy. Now, a couple more things I want to really outline and really explain when it comes to pressure. Okay. And the same is true with problems. And this is what I personally just believe concerning pressure and problems, because a lot of times, the pressure that we feel like there's problems, we feel like there's issues that, we can solve, or only we can solve, and all these things that create the pressure. And I'm of the belief, in the same way with problems, that number one, problems and pressure are a privilege. Okay. Problems and pressure are a privilege. And why do I say that? Because I know and recognize how that is a very counterintuitive perspective. But here's what I want you to understand. Only certain types of people in certain types of positions even have certain types of pressures and problems. Meaning that while we're trying to grow and achieve and reach higher heights, we have to understand that as we go higher, the problems get bigger. The pressure gets greater on us. And so we cannot build with this expectation that, when I, get thousands of followers, or when I build my brand to a certain number, or when my business revenues, the number that my goal, then like all of a sudden life will be peachy. No, there's going to be new problems. There's going to be new pressures. If you're a solopreneur and you have a goal of, hiring a team, well, you go from figuring out how you're going to make your ends meet for your own household to all of a sudden your business needs to function because you're feeding the household of others. Like, that was one of the biggest mentality shifts and pressure situations that I ever ran into in my leadership and in the growing of my business and things like that. When I started hiring people and I started recognizing, oh my goodness, I mean, forget me. I now have to work this business with other people in mind. Like it's no longer just, okay, do I have enough money to pay my bills? Like, I need to make sure I'm paying enough bills for Jill to be able to buy groceries for her family, or Dan to be able to take care of his, like, the pressure got greater even though my position got higher. And so when you think about pressure, I want you to view it as a privilege. Another easy example, if you're a parent, you love your kids with all your heart, but we're not going to sit here and lie and act like they don't get on your nerves sometimes. But understand that you even having whatever issue, whatever problems you have with your child is a privilege, because there's some people who would trade places with you in a heartbeat to be a parent, because being a parent is a privilege. And so we can't value the position but then try to reject the problems. We can't value the title but then try to sweep all the issues under the rug. So we have to take all things into consideration when we are building. And so that's why, again, I want to just introduce that perspective to you, that understand that, like, pressure and problems, they're a privilege because they indicate your position. Okay, so again, I'm going to be sharing with you 4 things that we're going to do with this newfound privilege that we have in our pressure. Okay, we're going to do 4 things. The first thing that we're going to do, we're going to get specific about our desired outcome. We're going to get specific about the desired outcome. Why is this important? When pressure first arrives in our world, when we start feeling pressure in our mind, when we get the text message and we get the email, we get the report, whatever it is, emotionally, things just get blurry, where we don't necessarily know up from down, depending on what the situation is. We immediately try to figure out, okay, who caused this and all these things, where we just are kind of in a tailspin. But in order for us to handle pressure well, we need to be able to get clear on the desired outcome by simply zooming out. So what does this mean practically? What does this look like? So if you get a bad report, or you get an issue reported to you, or whatever the case is, you find out about something that isn't good that you have to solve. The key is not to allow your emotions to take over in that moment. The key is to think first. Okay, because if it's one thing that you have noticed and I've noticed, is that thinking is the last thing that people seem to do. Like, thinking, I don't know what it is about thinking in times of pressure. Thinking is the first thing that people forget to do in times of pressure. And so, because we want to first think whenever we're in pressurized situations, we need to get clear on our desired outcome, which is going to require us to simply zoom out of the situation. Because, okay, in this micro moment, there's problems. In this micro moment, here's this present challenge. But I have the responsibility, because of my position, I have the privilege, because of this responsibility and position, to be the one to solve it. And so because of that, I need to zoom out, take myself out of the situation. I need to look at this entire issue at a 30,000 foot level, so that way I can get realigned with and get better understanding and clarity around, okay, what is the big picture here? Okay, I'm dealing with this issue that seems like, it's totally random. It seems like, like, where in the world does this come from? But now the key is, all right, let me make sure I still have the destination that I want in mind. So when you deal with the problem, you want to respond to it maturely, where you're not responding to it and solving it in a silo, because you might solve the problem, but that solution could be misaligned with your big goal. So we want to get really specific and clear on the desired outcome of where the issue, where the source of the pressure is. And so the way we do that, again, practically, is just zooming out. So whatever the issue, the problem is, okay, identify it, get clear about it, right? Talk to people about it, get an understanding of what the issue actually is. But once you do that, zoom out and look at your big picture, and then figure out, okay, what is a solution that takes care of this problem, takes care of this pressure, but also keeps me aligned with where I'm trying to go. And so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to mentally zoom out. Now, the practical step of this, and this all will help with your mindset towards pressure, we're going to create a clear plan for preparation. Now, this is relative to whatever the issue or the source of pressure is in your life, right? It's relative. But depending on your zoom out view, depending on what answer you come up with during that time, you want to create a plan for preparation. So this means whether you need to train, whether you need to improve your skills, sharpen your skills, widen your knowledge base, whatever it may be. You're going to simply create a clear plan for attack. You're going to create a clear plan that allows you to be prepared to step into the moment. And this will apply to a lot of people who have a pressure to perform, simply because, again, we don't want to be that type of leader that doesn't get the job done when the lights get bright, when people are in the room ready to hear what we have to say and we're speaking on stage, whatever the case is. We want to be the type of leader that is always prepared. And it is so crucial that even when we mentally feel pressure, that we double down on our preparation. So even if you feel like in normal seasons and normal circumstances, your preparation is at an average level, When you're under pressure, that's not the time to say, oh, let me pack it in and try it again later. That's the time to double down on your preparation and raise the bar, raise the standard for how you prepare for work, how you prepare in your business, how you plan your schedule, how you structure your week and things like that. That's the time to say, you know what? I'm taking the way in which I live my life and I'm doubling down and I'm raising the standard. I'm raising the bar because I'm not going to succumb to the pressure. I'm not going to allow pressure from my life, pressure while I'm in the process to my goal. I'm not going to allow that to stop me. So I want to up the ante when it comes to my preparation. And so again, that's going to require, after we zoom out and get clear on the solution, we're creating a clear plan for preparation. Now, the second piece that we're going to do practically is that we're going to create a clear plan for execution. So it's not enough just to come up with the strategy and then you put the strategy on the bookshelf and then you're still just like operating emotionally, or you're just operating and guessing. You need to execute. And I'm going to talk about why this is a little bit important, why that's very important later. But you want to create a clear plan for execution. And these 2 points, planning for preparation, planning for execution, they are similar, very similar. But depending on just your relative pressure that you are feeling will determine just how you need to handle it. So if you need to create a plan for execution, if let's say you get a report from the doctor where you have high blood pressure or something like that, you need to, and this isn't a time that situation and mental pressure is not a time to create a plan for preparation. That is the time for you to say, you know what, I'm creating a plan for execution. Like, I'm going to do something tomorrow and I'm just going to go do it and we'll figure out the strategy behind it later, but I'm going to go do something about it. Now, if you get a letter in the mail or something like that says you owe, or I should say that you're preparing for a really big talk, let's just say, right? You've been invited to speak at a conference and, it's going to be the biggest stage you've ever been on. And people are really looking forward to hearing you talk. That's when you would develop a plan for preparation. And again, nuanced, very similar in both, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the first thing that you're going to do to strengthen your mindset under pressure is that you are going to get specific about your desired outcome, which is going to require that we mentally zoom out, we come up with a solution that's aligned with our big picture, and then we're going to create a plan for preparation, or we're going to create a plan for execution. Again, both of those are very similar, but they are important, and I want to make sure that you get it. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to find the opportunity. We're going to find the opportunity. Why is this so important? It's so important because oftentimes when we encounter pressure, we immediately just focus on the doubtful thoughts. When pressure first enters into our world, most of the time, our first reaction is to blow up. Our first reaction is to isolate. Our first reaction is basically negative. And so what we want to do is when pressure does come into our lives, when the problem is presented, whatever it may be, we want to find the opportunity. And let's be even more specific when it comes to this. We want to find the opportunity for growth. So while none of the issue may be our fault, while the entire issue was totally unplanned and unexpected, before I come up with a plan and before I even execute, I need to figure out and find, okay, where's an opportunity for me to grow once I overcome this pressure, once I solve this problem? Where's my opportunity for growth? And this is why your overall self-awareness is so important. And it hurts my heart just how many people are living in contradiction or delusion, as I would say, because self-awareness, there's a stat out there somewhere where it says like 95% of people say that they're self-aware, and only 5% of that 95% are actually self-aware. Some study, I got to find it. But if you know the study, please put it in the chat. But there's studies surrounding the fact that people don't know themselves the way they think they do. And if you don't know yourself, or I should say, if you don't actually know yourself, but you're living your life in a way where you think you do, your life is always going to seem like less than. Your life is always going to seem disproportionate to what you feel like it should be, to where even, your friends, your family, and everybody around you could be cheering you on, but you're living below your level. You know it. And so what we have to do is we need to become self-aware. And the way in which we become self-aware is that we ask ourselves some key questions. A couple questions you can ask yourself to become a little bit more self-aware is, what do you know? What don't you know? What's a blind spot? What do you like doing? What do you not like doing? What are you good at? What are you not good at? Like, and these are questions that you have to answer honestly. Like, And this is where we have to just be very black and white. Not these are not the questions that you answer by faith. These are the questions you answer in spirit and truth. And when you answer these questions in spirit and truth, now you can apply faith, because faith does not work in fairy tales. Faith works in reality, because again, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So that means we want to be hoping for things that actually are proportional to what's actually happening, or else it just becomes imaginative. So let me not go on a trail in terms of faith and everything like that, but understand that we want to find the opportunity for growth. Okay. Now, in addition to finding the opportunity for growth, we also want to find the opportunity to serve. So whatever pressure it is that you're experiencing, a lot of times you would be surprised how many people will be blessed by hearing how you handle pressures. Like, you would be surprised how many people would be encouraged when they're dealing with the same pressure that you overcame a year ago, 6 months ago, a week ago. You would be surprised. And so when we deal with whatever pressure it is that we're experiencing, whether it has to do with family, whether it has to do with our finances, whether it could be at our jobs, could be relationship, whatever it is, whatever pressure it is that you're experiencing, we have to find the opportunity for how we can leverage this situation for the service of others. So even if, and this does not mean you need to necessarily be a coach or anything like that, but you just want to think about, okay, by me facing this pressure, by me building my mindset up and executing and doing what I need to do against this pressure, how could this be an encouragement or a help to somebody else? And once you're clear on just how you deciding to step up, you deciding to grow into the opportunity of pressure, by you deciding to do that, you now are making this isolated, siloed situation of pressure about way more than just this individual piece. You are thinking about others. You're thinking about how you're going to grow. Now, instead of this being this negative pressurized situation, again, regardless of wherever the source of the pressure is, this now becomes an opportunity to serve, and this becomes an opportunity to walk in purpose. And so we want to find the opportunity. Now, a really important note, and this kind of is back to faith. This is not a time when you are under pressure to adopt fake optimism. This is not a time for you to look at everything burning around you and then say, oh, what a wonderful day it is. I'll be all right. That's not what this is. Okay. This is not the time for fake optimism. This is where you work your faith. So for every single person here where you've been saying, oh, well, I'm in faith for a bigger business. I'm in faith for a husband. I'm in faith for a wife. I'm in faith for my family to be together. I'm in faith for this. I'm in faith for that. Well, that faith should still exist even when you're under pressure. And it's only when you encounter pressure that you can even show up with the faith you claim to have. So for all of you out there who say you're walking by faith, when you encounter pressure, that's the time to prove it. That's the time to really walk in what you believe in, because faith does not show up when things are peaceful. Faith only can show up when there's pressure. Faith is only going to show up when there's problems. Faith is going to show up when you feel disappointed and you still have to do whatever it is according to your faith. That's what faith actually is. This is where we get practical about faith. All right. When you lose out on the money, when you have no resources, this is when you actually act on what you say you believe. And that's how we find the opportunity, where faith simply finds a way. Faith is not convenient. Walking by faith is far from convenient. Walking by faith is hard. Building is hard. And whatever it is that you're looking to build, it's going to require faith. And because it requires faith, that means you're going to need to be in some pressure so that way you can stand on what you claim you believe. So again, we need to find the opportunity. Okay. Now, if this is good, I hope that you guys are with me. Please just put something in the chat just to let me know that you're with me. Okay. I really appreciate it. This is really, really good. I'm encouraging myself. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do to strengthen our mind under pressure, that we're going to get specific about our desired outcome. We talked about that. The second thing that we're going to do is that we are going to find the opportunity. Okay, we're going to find growth opportunities. We're going to find the service opportunity. And this is where we actually put our faith to work. This is not where we just talk about it. This is not where we just become optimistic. This is where we truly say, okay, well, if I say I believe what I claim to believe, then I need to work my faith. Okay. And that's where, again, we're finding the opportunity. All right. So the pressure all of a sudden becomes an opportunity. All right. The third thing that we're going to do to strengthen our mindset under pressure is that we're going to confront negative patterns. I hope you guys heard me. In order for us to properly strengthen our mindset under pressure, we need to confront negative patterns. Now, some of the most popular negative patterns that a lot of us do, all right, we do this, is we adopt avoidant and passive behavior. Meaning that we get the negative report and we try to sweep it under the rug like it doesn't exist. We get the bill that we don't know where the money's going to come from, and we try to just put it somewhere else and act like it doesn't. It's like it'll just go away, and we avoid the actual problem. We avoid the pressure that has presented itself, and it is impossible for us to make any change if we're going to be living in these types of negative patterns. Specifically, if we're going to just be avoiding every issue that we run into, and so. One of the things that you're going to need to do when you think about just your mindset towards pressure and properly handling pressure is really identifying some of these negative patterns. And so the first one, like we said, was that people fall into avoidant and passive behavior. But others of us, this is what we do. We sit in the pressure, meaning that we don't avoid it, but the pressure seems to be all we talk about. We don't talk about the solution. We only talk about the problem. And so this is where people fall into what I call, they like to play like a suffering game, where it's like they don't want to talk about what they're actually building. They don't want to talk about what's good. The only thing the conversation is filled with is how hard things are, how difficult it is, and oh, this is what I don't have, and oh, I can't believe this happened to me, and man, I know you went through that hard thing, but man, my hard thing is worse than your hard thing. Well, I know you're going through that hard thing, but back in 2 years ago, I went through that much harder thing, and I'm just thankful that I'm here by grace. And it's just like, that's not the type of game I want to play, be a part of, win. Like, no, sorry, you can count me out of that game. I'm not here to suffer. I'm here to overcome. I'm here to live a supernatural life. And that means we're going to need to confront some of these negative behaviors. So I don't want you sitting in the pressure. I don't want you just sitting in the stuff. I don't want you sitting in the problem. You need to confront it. Confront whatever negative pattern that you have when it comes to pressurized situations. When you feel yourself getting overwhelmed, when you feel yourself feeling stressed, when you feel yourself feeling anxious, I want you to confront the negative patterns. And this is where we have to look at behaviors. Whatever negative behavior that you have when you are under pressure, you need to get rid of it and change it. Now, how do we change these behaviors? I'm glad you asked. The first thing that we want to do is that we want to create disruption. Okay, we want to create disruption. If we want to get rid of negative behaviors as a result of negative mental patterns from pressure in our minds, we need to create disruption. What does this mean? This means that we need to do something very aggressive when pressure presents itself to us. That means that we might need to call a friend in. We might need to cut off access to whatever it is that causes us to fall into the negative pattern. So for some of us, the negative pattern is drinking. For others, the negative pattern is weed. For others, the negative pattern is social media. For others, I learned this term today. It's death scrolling, or what a doom scrolling, I think it's called, or something like that. I don't know. But you scroll on social media to avoid whatever it is that is in front of you. I'm here to tell you and encourage you, you need to create disruption. So let's just say you respond with doom scrolling. Well, then you know what you need to do. Instead of picking up your phone whenever you get the pressurized news and the problem presents itself, how about you just put your phone in the kitchen and you just journal as soon as you feel the pressure? As soon as you start feeling yourself getting stressed, how about you just call a friend and you talk it through with someone that you trust, right? That is disruption. Again, it doesn't need to be necessarily a big act, but it just needs to be something where you are intentionally changing the pattern. You're intentionally changing the response. That's what you need to do, all right? If you want to change the behavior that is the fruit of that is the fruit of pressure situations, you need to create disruption, okay? Now, the second piece that we want to do, we don't only want to just create disruption, we want to create deadlines. All right, we want to create deadlines. Now, why is this important? Because in order for us to not sit in the pressure, we need to make decisions. In order for us to not just stay stuck in our stuff, we need to make a plan and then execute on the plan. And so you want to set a deadline on, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what's about to happen. Now, let's be honest. There are certain pressures that exist where I might need a day. I might need a couple of hours. I was not expecting this hit. This hit has really taken me out, and I really need to get myself together. And I'm here to tell you, take as much time as you need, but don't take too long. Okay? Get yourself mentally to a healthy place where you can create the plan and you can execute, but make sure it does not last too long, because you should not still be holding on to things that, you should be healed and overcome in 2 days. All right. Like, so what I mean by that is if it should not require, I'll say it like this. If you're in a pressurized situation that to the average person takes them out, let's just say, when I say take out, I mean like they just need to kind of really sit and think and reflect. It takes them out for 2 days. Don't be the person where you need a whole week. Like, give yourself a deadline of, okay, I have 2 days to deal with this. I have 2 days to sit in this stuff, right? If you are processing a breakup or something like that, you give yourself a deadline and you say, you know what? I'm giving myself 1 month to process this breakup. 1 month I'll cry, 1 month I'll go through all the tears and everything like that, but I'm giving myself 1 month. If you got bad news with your job or your business or something like that, you know what? You got 2 hours. You got 2 hours to process whatever it is that you need to process. But by the minute mark after 2 hours, we're getting right back to work, because we don't want to sit in the pressure. And so we want to create deadlines. All right. And this is so crucial and it's so practical. And I want you to get this because I want you to live life at its fullest. I want you to live life according to your call. I want you to become the leader that your dream lifestyle requires. Now, again, just as recap, okay, we're having this conversation because we're having a larger conversation December 5th and 6th at the Dreamer Symposium in Jackson, New Jersey. And so I want you to be there. Right? In the chat is the website, dreamersymposium.com, where you can get your tickets, because we're talking about resilient leadership. And this topic applies to everything we're going to really be talking about. So again, this conference is going to be where you create vision for the new year and you grow in your self leadership, because it's not enough to clarify. You need to strategize. And so I look forward to seeing you all there. So again, if we want to strengthen our mindset under pressure, okay, we're going to get specific about our desired outcome. We're going to find the opportunity. We're going to confront negative patterns. And then the last thing we're going to do, we're going to change the inner conversation. Now, this is so important, and that's why I put it last, because you will not be able to handle pressure if you are unkind to you. You will not have a good operating pressure management system if you are your worst critic, and you are only your critic. Like, in order for you to manage pressure well and really have a mindset that's resilient towards pressure, you got to be able to not only encourage yourself, but you need to be able to sustain yourself. You need to be able to know when you need the encouragement and give yourself the affirmation before you even need it, before there even is a mental deficit. You know how to keep yourself right at midpoint. You know how to not get too high. You know how to not get too low, but you know how to keep yourself stable, because at the end of the day, it's stable people that build significant things. It's stable people that are actually create impact. It's stable people that live the life of their dreams. And in order for you to live the life of your dreams, I need you to be stable. And that comes with being kind to you and changing the inner conversation. So I don't care how many followers you have. I don't care how big your platform is. I don't care how many friends you have. You talk to you the most. There's always an inner dialogue happening. Always. And the best way to handle pressure is to know that that voice that's you in your head is going to encourage you. It's going to sustain you. So that way you can talk yourself through the pressure as you are solving, as you're executing, and you're strategizing the situation at hand. Okay, so I want you to change the inner conversation, and I want you to do more than just, some positive affirmations in the beginning of your day. Let's just first evaluate what you're already saying to yourself, and then just make tweaks, and then base those tweaks off truth. Okay. Now, if you're a person of faith, you should be basing whatever you say to yourself on the word of God. Okay. If you're not, all good. But I want you to understand that whatever it is that you are encouraging yourself with, encourage yourself with unchangeable truth. That's good. Alicia said, good advice. I can be hard on myself. Been working on that. That's good. Now, listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with being hard on yourself, but let's make sure that we're our biggest critic as well as our biggest cheerleader. Because if we're only our biggest critic, we end up not even trusting ourselves, because it's like, wait a minute, if this is the voice that's always going to tell me what's wrong, then even when we try to encourage ourselves, it's not going to work. So you want to make sure that you are your biggest cheerleader, meaning that, you know what, if nobody says anything, if nobody acknowledges me, I can say to me, I did a good job. You did a good job, Trevon, and I can believe it, and I don't need anybody else's validation for it. I don't need anybody else's approval. I'm good with me, because the inner conversation, the inner me, the inner conversation I'm having with me says I'm good, and I can have peace with that. But that also allows me to, when I do become hard on myself, I can trust me, because I know, you know what, I'm there in the highs, but I can also be there in the lows, and I can recognize, you know what, no, that wasn't good enough. And again, you need both. It can't be just one extreme or the other, because if you are only your biggest cheerleader, you're going to live in pride. If you're only your biggest critic, you are basically always going to feel like you're not enough. And that's where you deal with emotions like imposter syndrome and all these different things. So you want to make sure you're right there in the middle, and so allowing yourself to be stable, like we were talking about. All right. So those are the 4 things that we need to do to strengthen our mindset under pressure as dreamers and leaders. All right. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. This was really cool. I promise that the next time we do this, it'll be better. Not that necessarily anything was wrong with this, but if you know me, you know that I always want to figure out, okay, how can this take the next step? How can this get better? And I really look forward to doing that. So we'll be back in about 2 weeks. Let me see if I can figure out the date for you when it will be. We're going to be going live again and having another conversation. I'm going to tell you the topic too. We're going to be going live again on May 29th. All right, May 29th. It's a Thursday night, same time, same place, May 29th. And I'm actually going to be joined by a guest. I'm going to be joined by a guest, and I'm not going to tell you about her yet. But just stay tuned, because it's going to be a really, really good conversation. But it's all going to be surrounding just your mind concerning being resilient, your mind when it comes to just being mentally tough. Because, again, you're not going to be able to build anything significant if you aren't mentally tough. And that's why our conversation today was so important. That's why I look forward to seeing you guys in 2 weeks when we talk on May 29th at 7. So just as a quick recap, I don't want you to miss it. Take notes on this. To strengthen our mind under pressure, we want to get specific about our desired outcome. We want to find the opportunity. We want to confront negative patterns. And then we want to change the inner conversation. Those are the 4 things. All right. So I thank you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. The only thing I'll ask is, the next time that we gather here like this, invite somebody to watch the live, invite somebody, ask questions, because I do want this to be interactive. All right. So ask a question if you feel like it, engage in the conversation, because this is designed to help you become the leader that your dream requires. Now, I feel like there's something else I need to tell you. Well, I'll just remind you about the conference that's happening in December. All right. You can get your ticket today at dreamersymposium.com. Again, the theme this year is resilient leadership, built to overcome and ready to lead. We have amazing speakers that are going to help you not only just create the vision, but truly give you practical, proven insight and experience as to how you can build whatever it is that you're looking to build in the new year. And so I'm going to encourage you to get your ticket today, be in the room. There's going to be leaders, there's going to be dreamers, there's going to be high achievers from corporate America. There's going to be leaders and dreamers that are entrepreneurs. There's going to be leaders and dreamers who are in the ministry space, and whether it's in church or they have their own ministry, whatever it is, you should be in the room. If you're looking to build anything significant, I would encourage you to get there. And so with that being said, go to dreamersymposium.com. Make sure you mark your calendars for May 29th because we'll be right back here having another conversation. I'll be joined by a special guest, and enjoy the rest of your night. And just remember, your world will change when you grow. Nice.